Hi guys, and welcome back to JavaScript Playground. In today's video, we will talk about environment and scope of variables in JavaScript. This scope concept is very important. It is asked a lot in interviews and will trouble you a lot while coding if not understood completely. So ensure that you understand it well. Each variable has a scope which defines the part of the program in which the variable is visible. For variables defined outside of any function or block, the scope is the whole program. You can use these variables wherever you want. These are called global variables. But variables created for function parameters or declared inside a function can be referenced only in that function. So they are known as local variables. Let's try an example. Say we have this variable num1 and it holds a value say 10, and we have a function which calculates the sum. Let's say this function accepts a parameter or argument number 2, and it adds both these value num1 and num2. Let's try calling this function, let's say 20. So as you can see on the screen, it has printed 30. So we pass 20, which is stored in number 2, and num1 has a value of 10, so 10 plus 20 gives us 30. So this num1, this is a global variable. It is accessible everywhere. So it's accessible here. So if you do console log and you print num1, it gives you 10. Similarly, if you print it inside the function, it's available here as well. Similarly, if you do it outside the function, even then you get another value, 10. Or even if you call it after the function call, even then you get the same value, 10. So this num1 is available everywhere because this is a global variable and it is defined in the outermost part of the program. All right, so that was for num1. What about num2? So if you try accessing it over here, say num2, nothing happens, the code fails. So this code pen, it doesn't shows you these kinds of errors. So let's try another option called JS bin. It's very much like CodePen. So over here also you can have HTML, CSS and output, or you can just select JavaScript and console. So JavaScript and console. So you can write your JavaScript code on the left-hand side, and if whatever you print in the console will be available on the right-hand side. So let's paste the code here and let's run it. It doesn't automatically run your code, so you have to click this run button. And as you can see in the console, it's giving us this reference error, num2 is not defined. Because as I said earlier, so function arguments or the variables which are defined inside this function are not available outside the function. So these are local variables. So let's try an example. Say variable total. So this will hold the sum of num1 and num2. We can use it over here. All right, let's run it. Okay, so it's still giving us this error. So for now, let's just remove this. Oh, sorry. We printed sum over here. Let's do total. Let's run it. And as you can see, we've got 30 printed over here. Let's try accessing this total variable outside the function. So if we do console log on total and we run it, it gives us the same error. Reference error total is not defined because this total is not accessible outside these curly braces which define the scope of your function. All right, so let's just clean this up a bit. Let's remove this. Let's remove these and let's remove this. Let's run our code again and everything is back to normal. Let's try calling this function again with a different value, say 50. And as you can see, sorry, let's remove that also. And as you can see, it's giving us 30 and 60. 30 because of the first function call, so 20 plus 10, which gives us 30. And for the second one, we've got 50 plus 10, which gives us 60. So what's happening here is every time the function is called, new copy of these variables is created. This provides some isolation between functions. So each function call acts in its own little world, which is called local environment. Let's try to understand this a bit better. So let's bring it down here. Let's just refactor our code a bit. And if you run the code, you still get the same result, no errors here. So if I print console log here, and I print whatever is stored in this total. So let's see. As you can see, for the first one, we're getting undefined. For the second one also, we're getting undefined. So what happens is when we call this function, 20 is passed over here. So now num2 has value 20, but total is just created. Because as I mentioned earlier, whenever you call a function, it creates a new copy of this variable. So when it's creating a new copy, so var total means undefined because we have not given it any value. So that's why it prints undefined here. Same way when we pass 50, it comes here and it prints undefined. Because these total for both of these function calls is a different variable. So just to summarize, every time we call the function sum, a copy of this original total variable is created. And that's why this total variable doesn't hold the previous value, which was 30. And when we call the function again and we print it, it gives us undefined because this is kind of like a new variable to this function call. All right, let's try giving it a default value, say 0. Any guesses what will be printed instead of this undefined and undefined? Let's give it a try. So when I hit this run button, it gives us 0 and 0. Again, always remember. So when we call the function over here, this block of code is executed. A variable is created with the name total. It gets a default value of 0, and that value is printed here. And after that, the sum is assigned to that same variable, and we get 30 because 10 plus 20 gives us 30. End of story for this sum function call with the value 20. Okay. Now when we call the sum function with a value of 50, again a new variable is created for that function. It is given a value 0. So when you print it here, you get 0 over here. This sum is assigned to that total. So 10 plus 50, which is 60. And when you print it, you get 60 in the console. End of story for this second function call for sum 50. All right. I hope this clears the whole concept of global variable, local environment. But if you have any doubt, feel free to drop a comment and we will discuss it. See you in the next video. Bye and take care.